Whoa, okay. Now then, unfortunately bad news, folks. Professor Crest won't be able to make it. Aaron erroneously advertised his attendance, and I emailed him in a hurry. I told him to meet me in Abbotsford. He thought I said a bad bad. The rest is history. First, a tune. Some of you might remember from the old days. It's going to be really embarrassing because I'm going to do it entirely a cappella. It'd be so cool if there were any ex-members of the Pink Stainless Pale in the audience. The chances are slim, I know, because there aren't many of you. But if there was, like for instance, if Harry was here, he could have accompanied me on the guitar. He's not. What a pity. Anyway, this is a tune that I wrote in 1992, before the first Gulf War, in the Pavilion Gardens opposite the Royal Pavilion, built by a pervert 200 years ago. How times change. So, newfangled spanner. It begins, as it always does, with the Westminster chimes, if somebody can play it. Let's see.
I'll try my best.
Waste of time, get on a park bench.
Yeah, so it's called Foutre La Merde. The idea was I wanted it to be called The Fuck Up, like an autobiography. I felt that yes, I am a fuck up, but apparently there already was a book called that, so I couldn't call it that. So I thought maybe I'll just translate that word into French. And it turns out there's no exact word in French for the fuck up. So I went on I've got relatives in France and they said that we don't have that word, it's something different. So I went on Google Translate and have this broken translation. So that's what, it actually means fucked in the shit in. So I'm going to read an excerpt, but I need some assistance. I need someone to choose a number between 1 and 112.
61.
61, okay.
That's a dirty bit.
Someone else, a number between 7.
I was going to say
7.
69. That sounds like a dirty bit.
It actually starts at page 7, so 69.
Yeah. That's actually not dirty.
Re-edited, so it's a dirty bit.
Really bad.
Okay, so the first half of the book is basically a cut-up of all this rubbish that I've written. A lot of it was written in my mid-20s, just all this frustration about not being able to get laid, about being lonely, blah, blah, blah. Then halfway through the book, I thought, well, there's this story I want to tell, and it's based on this movie called The Blow Up by Michelangelo Antonioni, where this guy's obsessed with a photograph. But my idea was that it was about a guy that's obsessed with this woman's ass, and he goes crazy because he's so obsessed with his ass, and he completely destroys his life because he's obsessed with this woman's ass. And then what happens is, in The Blow Up, the guy has a photograph of a bush. It's a tree bush, not a woman's bush.
Right.
And he's obsessed with, this photograph of a bush, and it makes no sense, but the film...
What if it was a woman's bush?
Hey? Well, I thought in that he was obsessed with a bush, and then I thought, well, what happens is these people receive photographs of a burning bush, like in the Bible, right? And the burning bush that appeared to Moses, I thought there must be some sexual connotation to that, the Bible or something. Huh?
Probably.
Yeah, so he's come to Melbourne, so he's come all this way after fighting a war, he's come to Melbourne and he's found that the Jewish girls in Melbourne are driving him fucking crazy and he can't screw any of them, so he fucks off to New York where all Jews live, and so it picks up that he's in New York at the moment. So I'll start. Yuval soon got into the New York swing. He would take the L train into Manhattan. Actually, he had no reason to really go there except for shopping, since all the New York cultural and entertainment action, or what passed as action, actually happened in Williamsburg, not far from the comfortable apartment he was living in. He soon met other Israelis in the area, some of whom were still listening and promoting that lifestyle dedicated to music from the gates of hell. But he found others that had a slightly leftist but no less Zionistic attitude than the others. He even met some cute women who got good gigs as models in the nascent New York fashion scene. Yuval enjoyed New York. Instead of a constant threat of possible death and war, he got the constant noise of too many people living in one place trying to make a buck. It was a beautiful and inspiring early autumn day. The glare through the buildings gave his neighbourhood a magnificent orange-brown tone, tempered by the melancholy shadows they created. Arriving to apartment 12 of West 34th Avenue, he checked the mailbox of the building block. Opening the metal box marked 12, he shuffled through the letters addressed to Emin O. Charnikowski, his great aunt and uncle, and was slightly startled to find a letter addressed to him, Yuval Bar-Zur. The text in the envelope was laser printed in a dull Times New Roman font and had a strange watermark labelled the Arndt Group. There was a postage paid square in the corner, so he couldn't really tell which country it came from, nor, on turning the letter over, was there a return address. Curious, he ripped open the letter with his index finger, separating the slit as if it were his last fuck's vagina, minus the natural lubricant. Inside, he finds a Polaroid photo of a black burning bush. So actually, that was the end of Yuval's story. So he's he's received this photograph of a black burning bush. So what happens now is that another character is created called the legend. So this is the introduction to the legend. The legend was a legend in his own lunchbox. Over the years he'd managed to cultivate that lunchbox by various means, starting with an arts degree where he'd taken an affinity to the cinema of hard knocks, namely American film noir, westerns and war movies. Stories about men and not faggots. Stories about people with real crises, real problems and moral decisions. Stories about men, he believed, and not faggots. His tastes in literature went along the same lines, literature of hard knocks. Bukowski was the king, followed by Raymond Chandler, Faulkner, Celine and a few others. As a result, the legend liked to live vicariously through the experiences of these dead writers and old movies. Modernity didn't appeal. A cosmic irony in the legend's pursuits was the fact that the culture and the creative industries in which he aspired to a career in were, in this day and age, to a great extent, run by women and even faggots. It wasn't that he was homophobic in his mind. He respected faggots in his own way. He basically respected any men who were men and who were deeply honest to themselves on a very genuine and courageous level. Not spineless neurotics and faggots whom he despised. Men who drank a beer, fucked the women they wanted to, and lived life on their very own terms, and didn't answer to any motherfucker. Yes!
Yeah.
The legend got his only gainful job through one of his mates. While he was quite a competent writer, he didn't like people telling him how to write. Nobody does. He knew that his time would come with little effort because he knew his voice was greater than anyone else's. He was the real deal, not a confused, impotent, neurotic faggot struggling for existence. He knew he'd get that job in New York and hang out with Nick Tosches. He knew it, and he managed to convince people of his age that he could do it. The only problem was that after a while, all this talk became just that. Talk, and talk, and talk. He never went to jail or to court. He never fought a war. He never paid a fine. Heck, he probably never even got into one of those street fights he read about in all those Bukowski novels. In fact, his life was probably more lame in reality than most of the faggots he despised, most of whom were comfortable, successful, and lived more compelling, dangerous and transcendent lives than he ever would. But he was still the legend, pottering away at the local pub. Full of fake bravura, hot air and ultimately bullshit. The legend really had to work hard on his brand. Being a legend would only take you so far if you actually didn't do anything that made you really legendary. If you're an artist, what good are you if you're not doing any art? But then maybe doing all this bullshit, the talking, the pose, the ability to convince your best mates to pay your way, treat other people like condoms, living in exclusive areas well beyond your means and continually getting others to believe that you are a legend is an art in its own right. In that respect, he was an immensely talented, even successful artist.
Yeah.